You know, despite how many of these types of videos I've made, it only occurred to me just now that I only made one of them that wasn't in New Vegas. That, of course, being the Mr. Burke video. While he was intimidating as he channeled his inner slasher villain with his menacing walk, it did make him fairly easy to avoid, other than that random teleporting he'd like to do. So, to up the ante this time, we're going to try and outrun a character who, much like Malcolm Holmes, is essentially designed to spring up and surprise the player, seemingly at random. With that in mind, today's the day we ask the question, can you beat Fallout 3 while being chased by Victoria Watts? Who is Victoria Watts? Well, she is a member of the Railroad. Yes, that Railroad, so you know I'm already not very fond of her. Just like the group in Fallout 4, she is trying to help out an android that has escaped the Commonwealth and found himself down in the capital wasteland. At the start of the game, she is living in Nerbit City, but once the player begins the Replicated Man quest, and after talking to a set number of people, she will begin heading towards you and nothing will stop her. I cannot stress that last part enough, by the way. Until she speaks to the player, she is marked as essential, or in other words, she cannot die. So she really is just a more persistent Malcolm Holmes. The rules are going to be the same as the other chase runs, no fast travelling and no do-overs. If she catches me and manages to engage in dialogue, then the run is failed and the video ends. I have also tested her tracking capabilities out extensively before attempting this, and from what I can tell, there was only one place I tried that she wasn't able to get into, but we will go over that when we get to it. Now, with all that out of the way, let's begin. I have a save set up from the vault exit, so I just start from there, as the challenge doesn't begin until we complete the necessary setup out in the wasteland, so what I do in the vault doesn't really matter. For my special stats, nothing was all too important, except for making sure Charisma was at least at 4 for the Child at Heart perk. Having it saves on time by letting us easily talk our way into Lamplight, not only bypassing the Paradise Falls quest, but it stops me from wasting skill points in speech for a single check in the last quarter of the challenge. For tag skills, I went with melee weapons, repair, and small guns. Melee and small guns simply because I want to be good with most of the weapons that I'll come across, and then repair so I can keep said weapons in decent condition while running back and forward across the wasteland. Any time I have to spend stopping into towns for repairs and supplies is time being wasted while Victoria catches up to me. Out in the wide open Great Green World, I head straight for Megaton. Not for my usual reasons either, rather this time I head straight to the clinic to grab this holotape from the android, as after listening to it, I will get the quest. This isn't actually enough to start Victoria's hot pursuit though, so I head up to Moira and ask her about it as well, and now it is time for the long walk to Rivet City. The fastest way that I know to get her to begin chasing you is to speak with Dr. Zimmer and agree to help him, and then pass the speech check with Dr. Another Settlement needs our help. Doing so seems to guarantee her interest, and better yet, seeing how both individuals are in Rivet City, this puts me about as physically close to her as possible without the run failing immediately. Nothing much happened on the walk to Rivet City, by the way. I just took the normal route of going down past the Super Duper Mart, along Willem's Wharf, and finally by the Jefferson Memorial until you can see the boat. Sure, I marked a bunch of locations, including the Memorial, but again, no fast travelling, so all that amounts to is a few nuggets of experience. I just thought I should mention it anyway, as it seems odd for a video to essentially begin with me having already travelled to the most southeastern point of the map. Anyway, once I convince the doc, he gives me another tape, I give it a listen, and now the run can commence. And it nearly ended right away. As soon as I left the clinic, I made a left turn to begin heading out, when, of course, Victoria herself just casually strolls out of a nearby room and starts walking towards me. I know I said that she runs after you, but it seems that she will only walk while she's in Rivet City. She will break into a full sprint as soon as she gets outside, don't worry, you will see. Anyway, running or not, that way is now blocked, so I have to do a quick 180 to get away. Thankfully, this leads me to the science lab, so I make the most of it by talking with Dr. Lee and grabbing the intelligence bobblehead nearby. I know I said stopping for equipment is ill-advised, but due to running straight here from the vault, I am low on supplies, so I make sure to grab as much ammo and armor as I can from flak and shrapnels before making my escape from the boat. Except, surprise, there she is again, nearly ending the run once more. Fortunately, she entered right behind Angela Staley, so she couldn't get to me, so I was saved by luck. She seems to be a little bit glitchy in the marketplace, seemingly she cannot track me all that well here. I mean, it works for me, so once she gets out of the way of the exit, I book it past her and leave. Of course, now that I'm outside, it doesn't take her long to follow, and of course, like I said, she is now moving at full speed. Thanks to some very quick thinking, I was able to jump down to a lower part of the ship, causing her to go back inside, and from there create some breathing room, as I then hopped into the water below, and began swimming my way for the Jefferson Memorial. I know what you're thinking, by the way. Why bother with the memorial now? why not just head for Smithcase's garage, as you know that's where James is. And while that is true, I would need to clear out the Memorial of Mutants at some stage anyway, and I figured I would rather do it now as opposed to later, when I may have leveled up, and they could be a lot stronger. Remember how I mentioned there was a single safe zone from her as well? Well, the Memorial is it. From what I could tell from testing this, by which I mean waiting in a bunch of different locations, the only area she wasn't able to enter was the Jefferson Memorial. I am going to assume it's probably so she doesn't get trapped in here during the Enclave raid after they erect the barriers. Still, that doesn't mean that I'm safe while inside. If I take too long to deal with the super mutants, she will have time to catch up with me, and then will just wait for me outside the building, and considering there is only one exit, it's guaranteed that she will catch me. The busted up Chinese assault rifle that I got from Flak does a serviceable job, until it doesn't, and from there some conveniently placed sledgehammers that are just lying around the facility help to take out the stragglers. I am able to get a decent amount of ammo for the hunting rifle, so if I ever decide to use it, that's a plus. No time to think about that, for now I leave as fast as I entered, and thankfully she is not waiting like a toll booth at the exit. That said, I wasn't convinced she wouldn't at least be close by, so whenever I started walking across the bridge, I turned around to see what else but her. Her pathing seems to be a little strange, although to be fair, that's true of most characters in Fallout 3. Regardless, that may just give us the advantage we need as I once more dive into the nearby river, swim across to the Citadel, and essentially double back on the path I initially took to get to Rivet City in the first place. While running past everything is the optimal strategy, Fallout 3 is one of my favourite games, so I do still want to play it. With that in mind, I decide to fight the trolls underneath the nearby bridge. Turns out I can't even have that, as the raiders seem more interested in blowing each other up rather than engaging me in a one-on-one fight. Those that manage to not send themselves into the afterlife get to visit it shortly anyway, as 2 swings from the mallet seems like more than enough to stop them from moving. Dealing with the raiders is enough to push me to level 4, where I of course swoop up the Child of Heart perk without a second thought. I am also just dropping all of my points into repair until it's maxed out, and then I will do melee weapons, and then I will end with small guns. I just figured that felt like the most important order of things. Continuing on, I kept checking behind me rather frequently, and only once I made it back to the area around Megaton and the Super Duper Mart was I finally convinced that I managed to actually create a sizable distance between me and her. I had a rather embarrassing shootout with some raiders, by which I mean all of us got to demonstrate our lack of range capabilities, and then I stopped off outside Megaton to trade with Crow as he just so happened to be there. I give him just about every weapon I don't need, along with a decent chunk of ammo, and then use those caps to buy more sets of leather armor that I should be able to use to keep my own in good condition once I max out repair. I also bought a set of combat armor thinking that it may come in handy later, but to jump ahead a bit, it was in really bad condition, and I was never ever able to find another set to fix it with, so it kinda just remained dead weight in my inventory for the majority of the run. With my new armor hotkeyed so I may strip at the press of a button for maximum running speed, I start to make my way towards Smithcase's garage. The Chinese assault rifle saw its final use along the journey as it went out with a whimper as I used it to fend off mole rats and bloatflies. Which, to be fair, is about all I encountered on the way. Again, I am only level 4. The hardest thing the game will probably throw at me is a slightly healthier than normal raider, or perhaps a rad scorpion. On my tirade of bashing in the skulls of weak creatures, I get more use out of the sledgehammer as I do just that on the roaches and mole rats attempting to hide from me in the garage. Really, I am doing them a kindness. This one was trapped underneath the hidden floor door. Who knows how long he was stuck down here? Well, we all know how the simulation goes. We change our clothes, become a real boy, and then, like any child, begin randomly pushing all of the objects we were told not to touch until a Chinese invasion force swarms the local cul-de-sac and wipes out our neighbours. Dad is at the very least grateful for freeing him from his doggy imprisonment, so much so that he grants me a level up and some father-son bonding time as I follow him back to Rivet City. We engaged in so many activities on the way back to the boat. Most of it consisted of murder-related activities, but still, it's the time spent together that counts. There was so much killing, in fact, that he actually ran out of ammo for his .32 pistol and just began laying into them with his fists. This included the cannibals we paid a visit to, by the way. To be honest, that last one was my idea, as I thought that maybe the Ripper would be a good investment. Honestly, it really wasn't. In fact, it was nearly our downfall, as guess who decided to show up right when we were cleaning up the Smiths. Well, so much for a relaxing jog with Dad across the wastes. I would need to leave him to his own devices, as I needed to start running off on my own. The route that James takes to Rivet City is basically just head south until you reach the bottom of the map, and then from there run east, so I will technically be running the same way. The only difference is I'll be doing it faster, with less random doubling back on myself. Time was inevitably wasted due to the number of raiders I ran headfirst into though. On the bright side, the first group gave me the gift of experience, and by proxy a max repair skill, whereas the second gang, after some persuasion, were convinced to part with their combat shotgun, along with all of the shells in the vicinity. The shotgun could very well be the best weapon I have at my disposal. The only problem is it's rather abysmal condition, guaranteeing I won't get a lot of use out of it. Well, seeing how I was heading back to Rivet City anyway to meet Dad and Lee, I could spare the time to check in with Flak and Shrapnel again. And as luck would have it, they actually had some of their own shotguns lying around that made for some semi-decent repairs. I traded in a lot of the useless items I procured from the countless raiders I fought to also afford some more ammo for my other primary weapons. With the shotgun repaired to just over half its maximum condition, it now does 32 damage per shot, which is honestly pretty good considering I haven't really put any points into small guns as of yet. Enough dilly-dallying, I should probably get back to Dr. Lee before Victoria makes it back to the
Hello there.
Oh, you've gotta be kidding me.
Another close call by the door. It's like deja vu. She glitches out again by the exit, so I can't get out that way. No matter, I just exit via the broken part of the ship, dive into the sea once more, and then quickly make my way back up and over the bridge and through the door to the left, which will lead me straight to the lab. Let's just say I am very grateful that she only walks around Rivet City, otherwise we would have just been caught. Thankfully, Dad teleports to the lab once you enter regardless of where he currently is, so I can speak with him again right away, and after narrowly avoiding Victoria once more, can find our way outside and swim to Project Purity. Like I mentioned before, I am pretty confident that this is a no Victoria zone, so in context of the run, I don't really need to go into great detail about what happened here. I'm still going to though. First things first, I shoot and kill all the nobody helpers and scientists that work for Dr. Lee. Other than Garza, there's no real reason to do this, but hey, if one goes down, the rest may as well follow. After that, it's business as usual as I just turn on the power, fix the fuses, and then watch from the sewers as the Enclave arrive to do what the government does best, reap the rewards for all our hard work. If you're wondering how combat went with the Enclave soldiers, well, the shotgun made fairly short work of most of them. When I made it back to the Rotunda, I started messing around and having some fun. Everyone knows by now that you can talk with the people inside the main area by positioning the camera just right in third person, but out of morbid curiosity, I wanted to see if I could intentionally break the game by putting a plasma mine inside someone's inventory and killing them all. Well, long story short, after multiple failed attempts, I finally got the mines into their inventories, and unfortunately, they didn't arm, so I guess they can only die by the scripted event. I know Autumn doesn't technically die, but that doesn't stop us from looting his corpse. I am not so interested in his coat, but rather his unique pistol. This is the only way to obtain this unique variant of the 10mm pistol without console commands, by the way. It's not super broken by any means, it just has a slightly higher durability than the base model, along with a little bit more damage. Still, it's probably the only time I'm going to get to use it in a run, so I might as well take it. I only use it once in the sewer escape, mind you, and it was to deal with these two Enclave soldiers who are waiting for you in this section. I probably didn't need to stop and kill them for what it's worth, but I've had bad luck in the past where Lee just starts fleeing at the sight of them, causing her to not re-emerge near the Citadel, and while we know Victoria can't follow us into Project Purity, I am not so sure about the sewer system, so the less time down here the better. The only other obstacle, or rather minor inconvenience down here, are the ghouls, all of which crumple once a shotgun is pointed in their general direction. Arriving at the Citadel, I level up, quickly get power armor training, and then speak with Rothschild multiple times so I can get the location of Vault 87 and continue the long walk west, this time to Little Lamplight. I completely forgot that without fast traveling, you really do just spend a majority of your time in Fallout 3 running east and west. Other than when you get taken to Raven Rock, you really don't explore any of the northern part of the map in the main quest. It's the reason why I didn't mention my planned out route like usual, as this is what the map drawing segment would have looked like, and I'm not even kidding. Most of the run from the Citadel to the area around Smith Casey's garage was honestly danger-free. A plus side to just shotgunning the main story and not fast traveling, I suppose, is that enemies don't really seem to have enough time to repopulate an area. That's not to say I fought nothing, of course I did, but it was just more vicious dogs and your occasional rat scorpion, both of which I don't even need to waste ammo on as the sledgehammer works just fine. Closer to Lamplight, I run into some super mutants, mainly brutes, which is a good thing by the way, as they all drop assault rifles along with a decent amount of ammo for them. I can't use them to repair my Chinese assault rifle, mind you, but I can just repair them with each other to the point where they do more damage than the Chinese version, so it works out better in the long run. Inside the caves, I make use of the Child at Heart perk immediately to gain access and make my way through Murder Pass. This is where I began to get some use out of Autumn's pistol. Like I said, it doesn't do that much more damage than a normal 10mm, but given the amount of ammo I have for it, it can make very short work on some of the mutants, as you can see on the screen. Granted, some of these are sneak crits, but still, it works and that's what matters. As I said, I get a good chunk of ammo for the assault rifle while doing this, so I'm able to put it to some use as I carve my way through the mutants. The shotgun still has its moments, sure, but its condition degrades rather quickly, so it's not long before it gets shelved in favour of the rifle. One of the brutes in Murder Pass actually dropped a super sledge on death. Normally, I would jump right at the opportunity to use it, but instead I hold on to it for repair purposes. What I mean is that when we enter the second part of the vault, I opt to go ahead and raise the alarm so that I can free Fox. I always planned on getting the Gek myself, of course, to save those few precious seconds, but I wanted Fox free so I could trade with him and take his unique super sledge. Much like Autumn's pistol, this is the only time you can get this, so make sure to pick it up while you can. Once I fix it up with the other super sledge, it bumps its total damage up to 32 per swing, which, given that the shotgun is currently turning to dust before my very eyes, I believe that makes it the best weapon at my disposal. I mean, it certainly felt that way as I started turning the remaining mutants into giblets. Grabbing the Gek myself is of no concern, just pop a Rad-X and you'll be fine, especially considering you can just stand in this doorway where there is no radiation for some reason. Fox is annoyed he wasn't allowed to be useful, so being petty, he clearly ignores me as he is standing right there when the Enclave flashbang and capture me. By video game logic, I am essentially teleported to Raven Rock, so this gives me a decent amount of wiggle room for the run, as we must assume Victoria was closing in on Lamplight, if not already there, and now she will have to do a complete 180 and start running north. Fox's super sledge is still my weapon of choice when going through Raven Rock, as it was doing wonders on their faces. I also grabbed a set of Enclave power armor while I was here. Some of you may be thinking that power armor is not the best choice given that it slows my overall movement speed, but the thing is, I am only wearing it in combat. Any other time I'm still streaking, so I think I should be fine. It doesn't take long from here to reach the President and effortlessly convince him his plan is stupid, and then take my leave. Clearly I did indeed piss off Fox to some degree, as he isn't even waiting for me outside the base. Not that I could take him along anyway, as my karma was still on the lower side after what I did to Lee's workers. Now, to change things up ever so slightly, I must run southeast as opposed to east-east. Not a lot to go over here. I fought some crabs, I fought some bears, and at one point I even fought a vertibird and, to my surprise, managed to output enough damage to take it out. I also got enough XP on the way back that I was able to max out my small gun skill, so now I am a force to be reckoned with. Not that it really matters, as it's now onto the final mission, where, let's be real, I am essentially a spectator as Liberty Prime does all the work. I never spotted Victoria during the run to the Purifier, and seeing how she cannot go inside, once I make it there, the run is essentially over. For good measure, and because I am petty, I use that same plasma mine that I tried to stuff in his pockets earlier to take out most of Autumn's health bar, and then me and Sarah very easily dealt with the rest of his backup. I then entered the code myself, finishing the game, and proving yes, you can indeed beat Fallout 3, while being chased by Victoria Watts. That was, honestly, the most stressful chase run yet. Sure, Kowalski was armed, Malcolm was always approaching, and Fisto was Fisto, but none of them managed to nearly catch me the sheer amount of times that Victoria did in the first half of the run. Much like I did with Burke, after I wake up, thanks to the Broken Steel DLC, I go outside the Citadel and wait for a few hours, now that the challenge is done, just to see how far away she is. It took about 6 hours of waiting, but she did appear, and finally got to scold me for my interest in the android. Most definitely, the next time I do one of these chase videos, it needs to be the Courier in Skyrim. Truth be told, I wanted that to be the next one after the Crashman video. Thing is, I am just figuring out what would be the best way to do it. Obviously, no fast traveling, but I'm thinking maybe I should install the Open Cities mod as well, so that he can seamlessly follow me into the towns, but then would that make it almost impossible, considering time doesn't actually stop when you talk with people in Skyrim? Let me know what you think in the comments, as well as any other video ideas, like usual. Regardless, that's going to be the next challenge video. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider giving a video a like. If you're interested in more challenges in the future, feel free to subscribe to one of these videos every week. My name's Nerbit, stay safe everyone, I'll see y'all in the next video.